Are y'all ready to get this started? 3, 2, 1. Hey, I know what time it is.
You know what it is.
You are now tuning into the best business radio program in Central VA.
Turn it up.
On the mic with Mike on WJFM Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to On the Mic with Mike. It is the premier business radio program around. I'm your host, Mike King. Appreciate you being here with me. This is part of the Mike King Biz Radio Network, which is ESPN Richmond, 106.1, 5 to 7 a.m. The Choice, 105.3, every day from 2 to 3, as well as International Business Growth Radio. This is the Chamber President's Business CEO Roundtable. And we're bringing to you leaders of the community. We're coming to you from Launch Trampoline Park. We had just heard from Danielle Fitzhugh.
You always hear from me.
I always hear from you. We're in Chesterfield, so who else would I hear from? We're going to hear from LaShawanda Moore, who is the owner of Launch Trampoline Park. There's an awesome facility here. Plus, they do tons in the community. But with us, we have a panel of all-stars. So today, we're going to have two panels right here. We have chamber presidents, leaders in the chamber world, as well as business leaders, going to talk to them about what the state of the industry is, what the state of RVA is right now. So really quickly, could you go down the line? And all of these folks have a connection to me. Some we've just met and we've done it virtually, but others have gone with me and we've done things from the past. We have folks all the way from the Tri-Cities area. You got my man John Brandt here. We are representing Midlothian, as well as Chesterfield, as well as the city of Richmond and Henrico. We're going to start off with John Brandt.
Hello, I'm John Brandt, and I am the Executive Director for the Colonial Heights Petersburg Chamber of Commerce, newly formed Southern Virginia Regional Chamber.
I am Danny Gladden Green with the Women's Business Center of Richmond.
I'm Danielle Fitzhugh with the Chesterfield Chamber of Commerce, President and CEO.
I'm Nicole Reed, owner of Nicole Reed Real Estate and Associates, and associate broker with EXP Realty.
One of the reasons that Nicole Reed is here is because she's a sponsor. And I always say, hey, talking on the microphone ain't free. Plus, my grandkids do need stuff. So she is here. We also have Dr. Heather Williamson, who you see her signage in the background. We're going to talk to her in a moment, but we'd like to thank Nicole for being one of the sponsors for the program. And plus, she was just on TV. She's a TV star as well, besides being a radio personality. She was just on HGTV selling homes. That's how they do it down there at Nicole Reed Real Estate. Angie?
Hi, my name is Angie Cabell. I'm the Executive Director of the Powhatan Chamber of Commerce.
Hello, Brian Anderson, President and CEO, Chamber RVA, Greater Richmond Regional Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning. My name is Floyd E. Miller II. I'm the President and CEO of the Metropolitan Business League. We're not a chamber, but I'm excited to be here today.
You work like a chamber. It may not call itself a chamber, but that's how people view you guys at MBO, as one of the leading business organizations around here. Frank.
Sure, Frank Petrosky. I am a software developer in charge of business development and data directions. I also serve with the Chesterfield Chamber on the Government Affairs Committee, board on the Midlothian Business Alliance, planning commissioner for the Midlothian District in Chesterfield, and chair of the Chesterfield County Committee on the Future.
You got your hands, you wear a lot of hats, Frank.
I try.
You do. Really quickly, folks, let's go down, if we could talk about where we see the business environment now as we emerge out of the COVID time frame. Brian Anderson, we talked 2 years ago when we thought we were coming out of it down, and that's been more than that. Seems like 2.5 years ago. Where are we right now, and how do your members feel as far as business goes these days? John, let's start with you.
So with our new formed organization of the two chambers coming together, our businesses are very, very encouraged to see how we are going to be helping them with their marketing and with connecting the community and connecting to the government entities and connecting to the educational community. They're really encouraged that they are going to be strong, and they are coming together and building bridges together with our communities.
So, Danielle, we are in Chesterfield, so we're going to show you some. Plus, I have to say, so Dr. Casey, I am wearing the official Chesterfield pen. He told me, hey, we don't give it to everybody, and I am from Henrico, so this is a trek.
That's right.
Let's talk about where we are from the Chesterfield membership mentality.
Yeah, so, I think no one can do business the way they used to do business. You talked about 2 years ago. If they did not progress and move forward and change their business model over the past 2 years, those businesses no longer exist. Now, I think what you see is businesses are continuing to ramp up things like their content. We're doing this virtually, we're recording, we are creating content. We're not only being a part of content, we're helping our members create content so that they can get it out there too. So I think that virtual space of we need to help our members stay in front of their audience and help audience come into their doors for those who have brick and mortar services, that's got to be top of mind.
Angie, let's talk about all the hot things going on out in Powhatan.
I think things are going very well in Powhatan. Our business community is primarily made up of entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs by their very nature, I think, are resilient and adventuresome, and those are two traits that will really serve you well coming out of a pandemic. And I think that's what businesses are embracing. New ways to do business, like Danielle said, moving in to new spaces, filling up spaces they put a toe in, the willingness to learn and expand and pivot has gotten them through, and we'll see them into the future.
Let's talk about the rural part of the world. A lot of times we always hear about, the entrepreneurs, all those things. Can you talk a little bit about the rural community, whether it's farming or the areas that people don't necessarily think of if you're not in that world? We're thinking of Richmond, Henrico, Chesterfield, and those areas. When we get a little further out, let's talk about what that means to those people out there.
Right. Well, Powhatan is very much like parts of Chesterfield and Henrico. I think sometimes people think that Henrico is the West End and Chesterfield's Midlothian, and that Powhatan is like
yes, ma'am. Yes, that is correct. I just said that to John Brandt. I'm like, he said, "Go west, young man." He said, "Go ahead out there."
Right. So Powhatan's not as far away as you think it is, and we're not as rural as you think we are.
Okay.
There, west of 522 is a pretty rural environment, but really Powhatan has not been truly rural by definition for many, 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 many years. Disappearing farmland, what to do with large tracts, that's a land use discussion for another day. But business is thriving in Powhatan. There are a lot of services that we offer. The last time I checked, it was over 70%. It was nearly 75% of every resident in Powhatan leaves the county during the day to go to work.
Wow.
Now, that's an old figure. I'm not 100% sure what it is today, but I'm sure it's somewhere around there. And Powhatan has a lot of buying potential that gets overlooked. We spend tax dollars and outside of the county. We spend tax dollars inside of the county. But when the majority of your population leaves every day to go to work, I think it's incumbent on us to try to keep those dollars within our county and within our own businesses. So we want to expand business in Powhatan County, of course. We'd much rather you come shop in Powhatan than outside. So, yeah.
All righty. So Frank, you're not an actual chamber, plus you have your hand with the Chesterfield Chamber as well. Let's talk about the Midlothian Business Alliance.
Sure. So I like to call the Midlothian Business Alliance a microcosm of the Chesterfield Chamber. I'll say we model after the chamber. We don't steal ideas, but we're just laser focused on the Midlothian district, specifically the Midlothian Turnpike corridor from the city of Richmond to Powhatan, trying to be representative of the business community in that footprint.
What has changed coming out of COVID that you saw before COVID showed up?
Probably too much to list. I'll say one of my favorite mottos is to continually look to disrupt yourself before an outside force disrupts you. So I would say businesses and individuals both, if you were able to keep that lens, then you were able to weather the storm. They say change is the only constant. So I feel like my favorite analogy would be you're going on a trip, you're driving, and there's an ice storm. You know your destination, but if you get hit with icy conditions, and you start spinning out, if you insist that you're going to stay the course and fight against the spin out, you're going to be finding yourself in worse trouble. But if you embrace the ice and you lean into it, then you will find yourself getting to your destination because you're able to adapt to the conditions that made you slightly change your course to get back on course.
Brian Anderson and Floyd, both of you guys are chamber-ish. Brian, you are the actual chamber. Floyd, you are not. You're the Metropolitan Business League. Let's talk about how when people look at you, Brian, they see the chamber, RVA, and Floyd, when people look at you, they see MBL. Let's talk about the view of how outsiders look, and then give us some of the real deal on who you guys are as far as how you see yourself.
That's a great question.
I got one per show, man. That's it. There you go. You got it.
Yeah, I mean, some folks really look at us, they view us as similar to a chamber, but we are a membership organization. We have a plethora of many different types of small women and minority-owned businesses. So we operate very similar to a chamber. I agree with that, but I think the difference is that we have a really great relationship with a lot of our corporate members, such as Dominion Energy, Altria, Facebook, to name a few. And our goal is really to try to create an environment where the members, the small women and minority-owned businesses, have better opportunities with those corporate members. And so we address a lot of issues as it pertains to procurement opportunities. And I think that's really the difference between a chamber and the MBL.
Brian?
So I'd start with saying this region is very fortunate. I've come from Georgia after 20 years and lived a lot of places. We can compete with anybody we want to compete. So we look out the full 9 jurisdictions that make up the greater Richmond region. We've got all the assets and tools to compete with anybody we want to compete with. However, we haven't told that story quite as well as we could. We do well with tourism, we do decent with economic development, but we haven't talked about the region as a whole as much as we can. To Angie's point, we have all, I mean, if you want to live in a more rural or have a larger piece of property, you can live in multiple rural counties. If you want to live downtown, heavy urban density, we have that option. So we really can accommodate anybody that wants to find their niche in greater Richmond. Same thing with businesses. You can be a small business and thrive. You can be a large corporation and thrive. So all of those things are positive. But we need to tell that story better so that people don't think who are making investments that Raleigh's the only place to go do that, or Nashville or the other places we compete against. So first of all, we're a really dynamic region that's doing well. If I look at our chamber specifically, we're working on a couple of really 3 big buckets. The first is advocacy. We have to work with our government, our public sector partners very closely. Good governance, good policy is important to all of us, so we work state, local, and federal. Second is talent. With all the great things that are going on, nobody has enough workforce and talent, or nobody is comfortable with the workforce and talent scenarios. So we're working closely with our higher ed partners and with our local chambers and with business partners to say, how do we get a better pipeline of talent into not only the businesses that want to hire them, but also making sure our young people coming out of high school and coming out of colleges have the jobs and the future they want to have right here, not having to go somewhere else. So talent is important to all of us. And then third is working again with Floyd and other partners. How do we make this the most inclusive region in the country? We certainly have had a history of not being inclusive. We've got a history of being discriminatory. We need to now flip that and say we're going to be the most inclusive region in the country. We're going to make sure everybody here has the full economic mobility possibility that everybody else wants. So we work on those things, we're going to be an even better place.
A while back, we talked to Jennifer Wakefield about a business wanted to know whether RVA was a good area for a minority business to move to. And it's been borne out in the statistics that it is one of the areas that it is a good place to come and do business. So you guys are established organizations. Dr. Danny, you're building it from scratch. The Women's Business Resource Center, and something that you always talk about is women-owned businesses reach outside of their pocketbook. How much?
Less than 25% of the growth that they experience in their business do they reach out for money outside of their own bank account. And I want to hit on something that Angie kind of alluded to about entrepreneurs being resilient. Women entrepreneurs, even more so, I would say, have been resilient. Definitely the minority women population and women in general was hit hard with COVID, But what I'm seeing is that emergence is even more tenacious and resilient than what you might perceive. And I was driving over here and I was thinking about exactly why is that, right? And what crossed my mind is that there was a period in this country where women were told to be pretty, look intelligent, and stay quiet. And I think that we overcame that, and some of that is still in us. So when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, women are the great resignation. They're taking advantage of it to launch and grow their businesses in a greater rate than you might expect.
Give people an idea what exactly is the Women's Business Resource Center.
So the Women's Business Center of Richmond is a program of the National Institute of Minority Economic Development. We are located on the campus of Virginia Union University, and we are partially funded by the SBA. So our goal is to serve the underserved. We look to women and minorities to help them launch their business, grow their business, and thrive in business. So we are connected to a CDFI, so we can help you finance your business. Our services as it relates to counseling and coaching are free of charge. We are not member-based, we're client-based. And so, we are that resource to try to close that gap so that those entities that are not already a member of the chamber, we can get them to a point where they see the value in the chamber network, and we can help usher them into an environment where they can, again, grow without just that microcosm community. And instead of having a location for 40 years in one spot and being successful, maybe you want to locate in some of these other counties and have satellite offices.
All righty. On the mic with Mike, ESPN Richmond, that's where we are. This is part of the Mike King Biz Radio Network. We are here at launch. I'd like to thank LaShawanda Moore for hosting us today. I'm going to throw it over to my partner, Nicole Reed. As I said, we go back to WNTW days. She's one of the top realtors in the area. From the real estate standpoint and from the business owner standpoint, what does the rest of 2022 look like for you? Is the market still on fire?
It's still on fire. It's a bit crazy. And with interest rates going up, it's making it very, very difficult for the lower income families to actually procure a home. So we're experiencing still with inflation and prices rising, we have a lot of buyers out in the market, but we don't have a lot of inventory out there. So for every house, you're looking at maybe 10 to 15 people competing with that house. And for individuals that don't have an influx of cash to be able to make their offer stronger, they're losing out on these offers or these homes, and they're not finding home ownership. And then with the rent increase, it's it's a double fold there. So I really don't foresee that changing anytime in the near future, honestly, especially with the interest rates going up. And I think what's going to end up happening is that it's going to end up eliminating a segment of people being able to achieve home ownership if we don't do something about it.
And what happens, so Brian's down here shaking his head, everyone should, so what happens then? Is it really a case of the haves and the have-nots?
It really is. Like I said, it's going to eliminate a segment of people. And then you've got a lot of corporate people, a lot of investors coming in from markets, from California, from New York, from Georgia, coming up here, and they're buying a lot of these properties cash and making them rental properties. So you're going to find a lot more people sticking to the rent because they can't afford to purchase a home. And a lot of the inventory is being snatched up by these big investors who can come and just put cash, on a property. And most homeowners are looking at cash as the better option because there's not many contingencies within that contract that they have to worry about. So they don't have to worry about financing, something falling through. They know that this person is a strong buyer, and they're willing to sacrifice in order for them to get out of that property. But it's eliminating, for our families that don't have that type of money. They need to have the grant assistance. They need closing cost assistance. But in this day, it's very rare that they're getting their offers accepted.
It's been a year and something when you said to me, don't come asking. Now is not the time to come asking for stuff.
It really isn't. And I try to have conversations with my clients up front. So they're prepared for the marketplace. The last thing that you want to do is go out there unprepared. And so being able to properly prepare them, looking at other avenues, maybe even, having to pull out of their retirement if they have retirement, to be able to bring additional cash, to the marketplace, and just looking at different alternative ways to be able to capitalize. There are several programs out there that will allow them to do lease with an option to buy, where they will actually go and purchase the home that's on the market for cash, and that gives them a better opportunity of being able to secure that property, and then purchasing that home from that investor or that hedge fund company at a later date to be able to become homeowners. So there's ways that they can navigate within the marketplace to be able to become a successful homeowner, but they really need to be prepared for the market.
And Mike, I just wanted to add on to something that Nicole mentioned. I mean, part of what Brian and Floyd talked about was building a whole community, and we have to say what kind of community we want to be, but we can't eliminate the middle class. And so when you have this pricing structure where you're getting a 30% increase on rent, and whatever your bank account will pay on the home ownership part, we run the risk of eliminating the middle class. We have programs from lower income. There are programs to help beat their applications up and get them in. But that middle class, it gets pulled farther and farther apart. So we have to make sure as communities that we're doing our part to make sure that we're keeping that part strong.
And that's going for with local investors as well, making affordable housing. We're all in the market, and I'm an investor myself, so we're in the market to make money when we're buying homes, but we also have to look at making those homes affordable. How can we build communities, and when we go into those communities and rehab those properties, how can we make them affordable for our middle class families?
So Brian, how does the chamber reconcile that? What part does the chamber play as far as in the market, attracting businesses to come here? And what do you do to address the gap with the middle income gap?
Well, that's a big question. The first is we all want a great economy. That gives everybody the opportunities from jobs to also paycheck and earnings power. And those have been happening pretty good. But now we've got these geopolitical headwinds facing us. They're creating, interest rates are doubled in the last 6, 8, 10 months, whichever term. For some of us, it's even gone up 3 times, just tripled, depending on your credit worthiness. So we as a chamber, like all of my partners here, are looking at how do we make sure that we can do everything we can to help each part of the economy. And that's not easy to do. You got to look at it very macro tendencies, look at all the trends that are in place. So talent's a big one. If you used to have a high school diploma, you got to have something beyond high school now. That is not a credential. You got to have something beyond that. We're losing college kids. Although they come to Virginia, they get good educations, they're leaving and going to other states. We've got to keep that talent.
It's funny because I thought people wouldn't think that. I thought people, in other places there's that brain drain. I thought people thought that, and it says a lot, that Richmond is the place to come to. It's young, it's exciting, there's a lot of growth here, and it draws people in.
It's both. We are a draw, so people are coming from DC and New York and other high cost areas. But we're also still losing some of our graduates. We need to keep all of that we can. Make sure those coming out of high school go directly into a verified and good employment pathway, not just floundering, so to speak. So the economy's got to be humming on all cylinders. I'd say we were all feeling very bullish last fall that when COVID got behind us, we're going to be in a good place. We've now swapped the uncertainty of COVID for these uncertainties of inflation, uncertainties of geopolitical issues, China, Russia, you name it. Those are going to be the things that are keeping our business leaders guessing right now. Their business is good, but raw materials have not improved, supply chains have not improved. We've got a lot of headwinds still against us, not knowing, or that uncertainty is what's driving a lot of people to be very cautious right now when they would have been bullish 6 months ago.
One question I always have with Chambers of Commerce, which is the political side. Who's in office and what part does that play? John Brandt, how do you walk that tightrope, sir?
So locally, we build relationships with our city councils and our mayors and our city managers and things like that. So when our businesses have an issue that they need addressed, we can call them up and say, hey, I've got this business that has this issue. What can we do to fix this? And so that's what we do locally. we also try to develop those relationships with our state partners, being able to, not influence, but be able to communicate with them things that we need them to go to the House of Delegates with and the Senate with in order to be able to help change policies as far as that's concerned. And then also, we don't do much on a national basis. And you know, that's just from us as a smaller chamber, the influence that we can have. But we develop relationships with our Virginia chamber and onward to be able to influence on the national basis. So.
Danielle Fitzhugh is smiling because we've had this conversation. I wonder, when you have a person who's in office, whether it's a Democrat or Republican, what does that do as far as chambers doing business? Because
We still got to get the work done, right? So it doesn't matter what election day happens. We still have work to do on Wednesday after election. So we still have to work with those relationships. We do it locally, we do it at the state level, we do it at the national level. I'll say I don't do it as well as Brian, but he's got a full-time staff person too. So I'm going to give Brian his hand clap because he does an amazing job with it. But I mean, we had Senator Hashmi come to our Government Affairs Committee. We meet. No one does it locally better than we do. We meet with every board of supervisor and every school board member nearly every month.
Because you guys always talk about government affairs.
Because we talk
And
about
then you look down-
what's important to our local residents, right? And then when you get to the state level, sometimes if it doesn't affect the business owner directly, they're not paying attention at the state level. And we have to paint the picture of why this particular bill or this particular policy is important to them, that they need to need to pay attention. And the same thing at the national level. So they're not watching it, they don't have time, they're running their businesses, they're looking at us to do that for them. So we have to tell them, here's what's happening behind the scenes, here's how the ball is rolling, and here's what you can do to let your opinion be heard.
So some of that sexy committee that you talk about, government affairs.
Sexy chamber work.
That's Frank down there. It's, that boy Frank, that's really sexy.
It is, yes, I do serve on that committee. And one of the things that committee will do as well is we have the Chesterfield Business Council where on a regular basis, our business leaders meet with the 5 supervisors throughout the county. We rotate through all 5 districts to make sure there's an open dialogue and communication. And I think communication is at the heart of all of this. With the Midlothian Business Alliance, for example, we also have our supervisor come out once a year to give their outlook. What are the challenges ahead? What are the opportunities ahead? We have the state level legislators come out once a year to tell us what they're working on, what's important to them, what the businesses need to be paying attention to. So whether it's business or government, the key is just we always need to be communicating and having that dialogue to stay engaged and know what's happening.
So
I just add, Mike, that we do, Daniel's right, we have to fight on Wednesday after the election. But people need to think about elections have consequences. Those who get elected are going to have certain things they're going to begin pushing. So we as chambers try to stay in the middle, typically center left, center right. We can't afford to be far left, far right on policies, but we got to work with both sides of the aisle. Right now, there are critical decisions being made on a regular basis at each level that affect businesses, and most people don't really understand that. They just think, well, what they see on the news. So we're working every day with local, state, and federal to make sure good policies are at least try to stay as focused as they can on the outcomes we're trying to get. I'll give you a quick example. We were asked to sign on a letter a few weeks ago countering the governor's recommendation to lower the gas tax. Why would we not want to help people right now that are paying 30, 40, and 60 cents more a gallon than they can afford? I might be able to afford it, but that worker who's trying to get back and forth to work every day, 5 days a week, going back and forth to work, may not be. It's okay to suspend a temporary tax that you're not going to be paving a road tomorrow until we can get out of this inflationary cycle. We didn't sign on to it. Northern Virginia chambers did. That's a point of contention, but the point is we made a decision what we thought was best for Richmond so that our people have a better chance to be sustainable during a very difficult time. You mentioned interest rates. Hundreds of dollars a month have gone up just because of the interest rate. And yet, are we hearing our government leaders talk about it? They're fighting and they're pointing fingers, but nobody's done anything so far. Interest rates are going to go further up because the Fed's going to have to get their hands around this inflationary. It is not transient. It is going to be here for a while.
Floyd, what type of impact does that have for MBL?
I mean, it has a major impact. I mean, these small businesses are struggling, and so for us to continue to provide the support that they need, it has a major impact.
Angie, Powhatan, what fine line do you walk out there, and is it any different than these other chamber leaders?
A little bit different because we are small. We rely heavily. We don't have a government affairs team
So that's
or
you.
committee, right? So we rely heavily on the efforts of our larger chambers, namely the Virginia Chamber, to do some of the business advocacy on our behalf. And the other thing that we do have in Spades and Powhatan and in the Richmond region is access. I think that we take access to our governmental leaders almost for granted. I know in Powhatan, our office is literally right down the street from our delegate. I could stand on my front porch and yell really loud and he would come. So I think access in this region is notable, and we are grateful for that, and we need to do more to leverage that access. And it's on all levels. So I think we're lucky here.
On the mic with Mike, ESPN Richmond. This is part of the Mike King Biz Radio Network. When I talk to you guys, we're getting short on time because I'm getting that look from Emmanuel. And I want to talk to you about culture and organizations. And folks who know me understand this right here. I know all of you, I see what you're doing, and when people don't think that social media works, it does, because people see what you're doing out there. Let's talk about setting culture in an organization. I always mess with John Brand. He's the Pied Piper of business down in the Tri-Cities. He's out everywhere. And so let's talk about setting culture for an organization, big or small, maybe when you stepped into or when you started from scratch, like Dr. Danny.
Oh, you going to me first?
Of course, man. I set you up.
So, we've always talked about how diverse the culture is in Colonial Heights and Petersburg, and how different it is even when you cross that bridge from Colonial Heights to Petersburg. And with our over 100 restaurants that we have in Colonial Heights, and now we've added on an additional 50 or so that's in Petersburg or more. So restaurants are a big hub there in Colonial Heights. We have our hotels, we have, all of our service industries that are there. But just trying to work with each entrepreneur that's coming in and says, hey, I've got an idea, a better widget. And just having that group of people that we're able to just mentor and be able to help them grow is what we're seeing a big change in Colonial Heights and Petersburg is the mentorship opportunities.
New and exciting last thing going on down where you are.
Well, we got the Chili Peppers kicking off.
Baseball's back.
Baseball is back this year again, and they're excited for their second full season and got some great things that are going to be going on there as far as in-game opportunities for the fans to be able to grow. But we also just announced our October 15th Grapes and Hops Festival.
Making it work down there. Dr. Danny.
I would think more along the lines of dealing with some incumbent mindsets. We serve a community that's about 100-mile radius within Richmond. You look at Richmond, it's predominantly African American in terms of population. And so because we're focused on the underserved, we have to help our clients bridge out a little bit more and reach out to communities that they may not be accustomed to reaching out into. And so it's so important that we were intentional about selecting our advisory board to be made up of the Asian Chamber, the Hispanic Chamber, the African American Chamber, because we believe that there's great business ideas and innovation in Richmond within the entrepreneur community, and that community that maybe does more business with each other need to venture out and to grow beyond that. So culturally, we are saying that let's become a little bit more integrated. So we have another component of our 4 C's of business development. I mentioned coaching and counseling, but we focus on capitalizing and connecting. And so putting people in the room together that have unique perspectives, but not that different, but letting them know that, we are all here to grow and have a positive impact on the communities in which we reside is what we do. I would have to put in a shameless plug. We have a conference.
Shameless? That's what we do.
We have the Winning with Women and Entrepreneurs Conference, Winning with Women and Minorities Entrepreneurs Conference is coming up next week. And we were very intentional about ensuring that we have diversity and parity and equity represented, because that's where we need to get to.
And people could find Dr. Danny. She is a radio personality. And which days are you on?
I am on ESPN Richmond on Wednesdays at 5:30 a.m.
And that's a shameless plug for me. Sorry, folks. Danielle.
We build culture purposefully. Our brand promise is we are a group of committed professionals to your success. So we work every day to help each other, not just us as staff, but our other members are about building each other up versus tearing them down. So people, there's the quote, they don't care what you say, it's how you make them feel that they remember. So our goal is to make everyone feel as that we're working for them. And we do that and spread that message throughout the organizations and throughout the pieces of programs and work that we do.
Nicole Reed.
Our goal is to make sure that we are a master of our skill and in our profession. So making sure that we're able to provide the information that our consumers need, whether they're individuals or whether they're businesses, when it comes to building wealth through real estate. But we also like to build other realtors up. So one of the things that I host is a blueprint, a mastermind for other realtors within the community. And the goal is to teach them how to be profitable and build an influential business, and what does that look like from the basics, because it's so easy for individuals to just go and get their license, but that doesn't make you qualified to sell real estate and really know what are the ins and outs of real estate. Real estate is one of the most important things that someone, an individual would ever buy in their life and businesses. So you want to make sure that you have someone that is knowledgeable, that understands that also knows that being a realtor is separate from running a business and how to properly run your business as a realtor so you can stay relevant and you can stay in business.
One of the things that Dr. Danny talks about is scaling your business.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so we're going from, Chesterfield, Powhatan, the city of Richmond, Midlothian. So Powhatan, let's talk about we're going to make a road trip to Powhatan. So we're going to come out there.
You don't have to go far.
It's not that far.
It's not that far.
Powhatan is the new Chesterfield.
Okay.
Powhatan's been the new Chesterfield for years.
It's like, okay, it's done. Okay, so I don't have to go far. And we've done this with John Grant. We did what's happening down in the Tri-City. So we're going to come out and like the Bronx, we're going to take our talents to Powhatan and talk about, that's a couple years ago.
I got you.
Being from Philly, I just, we do what we do. Talk about Powhatan, what's happening new and exciting out there, and we're going to set up a time to come out and showcase you guys.
Anytime. You're always welcome.
What's new and exciting out there for you guys?
So coming up this week is our Village Vibe concert series on Friday night. It's a free concert. We invite you all to come. It's great. It's low cost, no cost, and it's in a beautiful setting. We have a local band, so it's going to be a family-friendly event Friday night. Facebook page for that. And we also have the Festival of the Grape. That is going to be our 19th year. We had to take a year off. We missed our 20th, almost annual. But it will be our 19th year, and we expect a large crowd. That's the first weekend in October the 1st. And I think our culture at the Chamber is one of community. There's always room at the Chamber's table for you, no matter where you are in your business life. Whether you are an employee or an owner, you're just beginning, or a master. We welcome you to our table, and we want to hold hands with you and walk forward together.
I'm glad we met.
Me too.
It's because we'd never met. Nicole, why are you looking at me? You guys say I'm sappy? That's what she does. I don't listen to that right there. This is a business show, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we run it. Brian.
Quickly on culture, I'll say we redid our mission, vision, values over the last 18 months, led by Chris Mumford, president of the Martin Agency. And the bottom line is, we said our mission is to be the trusted voice of business and to take courageous and decisive intentionality on making things good for business, because we feel that there's a lot of noise out there. People aren't trusted. A lot of sources aren't trusted. We want to be part of that. Secondly, from a culture standpoint, since I got here, I didn't think we were as collaborative as we needed to be. So we've worked hard to try to reach out to our partners and not look at things as competition, but how we work together with all organizations. Our biggest event coming up is May 6th, 17 through 20. We're taking over 180-ish people, leaders around the region to Columbus, Ohio to learn what they're doing and to validate what we're doing. If you'd like to go, let me know. We'd love to have you join us.
Had you guys have done that with Charlotte? Did you do it
We
with
did Charlotte last fall.
It was last fall.
This is our 27th, 28th trip.
What do you get when you go to when you do those type of things?
Well, again, we build an agenda around what we think is important to our region, whether it be talent, whether it be economic mobility, whether it be tourism. We look at all facets of an economy, and we go see what somebody else is doing, and then we come back and say, can we implement that here? We also validate, are we doing some things better than they are? So it's a kind of a two-way street.
Mike King, so I came here in 2014. I had heard about MBL, and they said, it's this dynamite young guy who's taking over. You got to meet him. His name's Floyd Miller. I've met him, and he's doing it. So, Floyd, the floor is yours. Talk about culture and what's happening new and exciting with MBL.
Yeah, well, really quickly, I think, the MBL has always been about diversity and inclusion. We want to create a culture that it's welcome for everyone. And so I think we do a great job with that. As Brian mentioned, collaboration is very important for us. And, one of the things that we have coming up, I think it's not really an event, but it's a program that we just created. It's called the Capital Access Program. And we have actually hired a capital access manager to help small businesses acquire capital. And so that's very, very important during these unprecedented times.
Yep. That's good. Frank, you're going to bring us home.
Absolutely. So I will say Midlothian shares a border with Powhatan, so you don't feel far at all from my point of view. And I was going to say the same thing Mike was saying, that for whatever hat I'm wearing, it's about not trying to do it all by yourself, not building silos. We've got to be collaborative. We've got to partner. And that's why I'm a part of so many groups, because we all need to be working together toward that common goal for the whole community. And I'll close with the event I'm excited about. We're on ESPN radio, so tonight's game, I'm growing my playoff beard for the Philly 76ers, so go Sixers.
That's why I like you, man. See, hey,
You paid him to say that.
Philadelphia, you know what? It ain't sexy, but, Philadelphia, we are some hard workers. Okay, I'll take that. Yes, thank you. All right, so when the mic is Mike, we're here at Launch Trampoline Park. Cheyenne, you want to step in? And I don't know how we're going to do this. Come on, I'll stand up. Emmanuel's giving me the look, so come on, Drew. All right, so on the mic with Mike, we're here at Launch Trampoline Park. We're going to talk to LaShawanda Moore. She's going to talk to us, but you're going to give the folks here an idea of where we are, what exactly this is. So we said never mind, you just go ahead.
So we're right now sitting in the middle of the cafe, and behind you has about 14 or 15 different attractions. So we've got our dodgeball, we've got our battle pit, we've got our basketball, and we also have our ninja course on there in the main courts. So it'll be really fun for each of you to try sometime, just to come and jump with us. And then we also have our Fury laser tag experience, which is amazing. We can run over 55 to 75 different type of games, one-on-one, team-on-teams, for different battle zones, and we have our cafe, which we've just changed and upgraded a lot of our ingredients for the food, so it's really, really great. And our kids also love the arcades that's along the wall, along with the different games and prizes they can win, and the different foods. So it's a super fun place to come for the kids, for adults. We have our dodgeball tournament as well too, which the adults just dominated.
Yes, they did.
Which was awesome. And then we have our summer camps coming up, which have our regular programming and our STEAM and STEM. We connect with Brainy Bites that do our STEAM programs for us, and so all summer long we will have summer camp for all the kids to come out. As long as they can walk, they can be a part of the camp.
Well, we'd like to thank you for having us, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. On the mic with Mike Shines here. We'd like to thank the great folks here. We got to run, so catch us. This will be on ESPN Richmond within the next couple weeks or so, but we'd like to thank our sponsors, Crystal Clear Financial Solutions, Nicole Reed, Dr. Heather, Nicole Reed is there, as well as Launch Trampoline Park for hosting us. Thank you, folks. We got to run. Take care.